So a viewer asked me a question 2 days ago, and honestly, it broke my brain a little. At Try Night Eleon 55 said, it would be nice to have a comparison video of the privacy Canton has, and listed 7 chains: DigiByte, Zano, Linea, Dash, Knight, Quai, Aleo. And I told her straight away that Canton's privacy is a different animal to Zano or Aleo because one of them controls who can see a transaction and the others hide the transaction itself. I pointed a script at all 8 of these chains, at their own public APIs, and asked everyone the exact same question. Show me a transaction. What's the amount? 4 completely different things came back. 5 just told me. 2 handed me ciphertext, and one of them, I couldn't even find a door to knock on. That last one is Canton, and by the end of this you'll know why, and why it isn't a bug. Start with Linea. Linea is a ZK EVM. The whole brand is zero-knowledge proofs, so you'd assume privacy is in there somewhere. I pulled the latest block off Linea's own public node, and the second transaction had a sender, a receiver, an amount of about 1/10 of an ether as a plain readable number, and the full call data in the clear. And look, here's the biggest misunderstanding in this whole topic. A zero-knowledge proof can hide the data, or it can prove a huge batch of transactions ran correctly, so nobody has to rerun them. Same mathematics, opposite purpose. Linea does the second one. The proof compresses trust. It doesn't conceal anything. And you don't have to take my word for it, because Linea says so themselves. Their docs have a page called Privacy and Data Visibility, and on it they write that their stack, quote, does not publish a shipped capability for on-chain ZK privacy. Do not infer it from Validium or RBAC. A zero-knowledge chain in its own engineering docs telling you not to assume it gives you privacy. And the other honest one is DigiByte, the chain this viewer actually holds. DigiByte has no privacy layer at all. None. Every amount public, forever. And that is deliberate, because DigiByte was never a privacy project. It's a security project. So that's already 2 different things people call privacy, and neither one of them is hiding an amount. Okay, Dash. I pulled a Dash block at random near the tip of the chain, and one transaction has 4 outputs. 10.0001 dash, 10.0001. 4 identical amounts, 4 different addresses, 0 fee. And the very next transaction does it 7 times. That's no coincidence, and I found it in the source code. In Dash Core, there's a hard-coded array of 5 standard denominations, and 10.0001 is the biggest one. So think about that. CoinJoin is mixing. You and some strangers pool coins, everyone walks out with the same shaped coin, and an observer can't tell whose was whose. But here's the part people skip. It doesn't hide the amount, it standardizes the amount. And a standardized amount is a fingerprint. Across 60 blocks and nearly 1,900 transactions, roughly 1 in 6 recent Dash transactions is trivially identifiable as a mix. But hold on, because this is 27 days old. On the 1st of July, Dash Platform version 4 shipped a shielded pool built on a fork of Zcash's Orchard. Version 4.1 landed yesterday and added viewing key persistence. Careful bit, that shields platform credits, not Dash on the main chain. But the project that spent years insisting it wasn't a privacy coin just shipped one of the most advanced shielded pools anywhere. And Quai is in this same family. 16 fixed denominations, no address reuse, so ordinary payments, in Quai's own words, look like a 2-person CoinJoin. Now Zano gave me the most complete refusal I have ever seen from a blockchain. And this isn't a private payment, it's the miner's own block reward. In it, there's a stealth address, hiding who receives it, an amount commitment, and an encrypted amount, hiding how much. And then a field called blinded asset ID. That one hides which asset it even is, not the amount, the asset. Most privacy coins hide how much you sent. Zano hides what you sent. Then Aleo. Aleo runs your program on your own machine and the chain only gets a proof you ran it correctly, so the inputs can be sealed. And they are. I pulled a private transfer and the amounts came back as ciphertext. But here's what nobody shows you. The program name and the function name are always in plain text. Always. So the amounts are unreadable, and sitting right above them, in the clear, is the function name. Transfer underscore private. The envelope is public. Only the letter is sealed. Then I went wider. 12,000 Aleo blocks across two windows that don't overlap. 84% of the inputs came back marked public, not encrypted. Public. And the plain transparent transfer outnumbers the private one by about 57-1. Now, to be fair, that sounds harsher than it is. Staking and bridging and most DeFi require the public lane. The cryptography isn't failing. People mostly just aren't using it. And Midnight, with its token Night, never puts the private state on the chain at all. Only a proof goes out. And earlier this month, the Midnight Foundation filed a formal comment with FinCEN and OFAC, arguing compliance needs regulatory visibility, not public transparency. A privacy chain, asking regulators for rules. So that's 7 chains, which brings us to Canton and to what happened when I ran the experiment. I couldn't ask. Every public Canton endpoint I tried came back 403, forbidden. And a 403 on its own proves nothing. It's just a locked door. The real point is what's behind it. On the other 7 chains, I pointed a script at a public firehose and data came out. On Canton, there is no firehose to point a script at, and that isn't an oversight. It's the architecture. Canton's own docs call the complete ledger a virtual global ledger, and then say, quote, "This virtual global ledger is not materialized anywhere due to privacy. In general, no node knows the entirety of the ledger." So how does that actually work? Right, it's called sub-transaction privacy. Your node breaks the transaction into pieces called views, one per party entitled to see that piece, encrypts each separately, and only the entitled views ever get delivered. In their own worked example, there's a party called Carol, and next to her name it just says, nothing. No payload, no parties. She doesn't even learn the transaction happened. And why does any institution care? Visa put it better than I could back in March, announcing they were becoming a super validator. Banks can't run payroll if salaries are public, and trading firms can't reveal every position in trade without hurting price discovery. Now the honest limits, from Canton's own docs. Your own validator sees everything you do. They say that in a warning box. Choose it the way you'd choose a bank. And Canton Coin itself publishes all of its transfer legs in the clear. Privacy on Canton is something each asset chooses, not something the chain forces on you. So, here's where it all comes together. When @TryNightEline55 told me she'd held DigiByte a long time, she said she knew eventually privacy for institutions would have to come into play. And that's the key, because once you ask which of these a regulated institution can actually use, the group sorts itself out. Okay, so start with the law. The European Anti-Money Laundering Regulation, Article 79. Read the verb. Credit institutions, financial institutions, and crypto asset service providers shall be prohibited from keeping anonymous accounts, including through anonymity-enhancing coins. Keeping accounts. It binds the licensed firm, not the coin, and not the protocol. And it applies from the 10th of July, 2027. But there's one buried clause that's the real story. It defines these coins as ones with privacy built in, quote, either systematically or optionally. Optionally. So an opt-in shielded mode sits inside that definition just as much as an always-on one. And here's the part that made me sit up. The Bank for International Settlements finished Project Agora in May. 7 central banks, more than 40 financial institutions. Their headline finding is one sentence. A shared ledger does not require shared data. And further in, they write that privacy mechanisms do not remove regulatory obligations. They support selective disclosure while preserving institutional responsibility. Central banks wrote our conclusion down before we did, which is what Canton's co-founder and chief executive Yuval Ruz keeps saying. I don't want to conflate privacy with anonymity. Privacy is the ability to share information on a need-to-know basis. Anonymity is nobody gets to see it. So here's the one contrast that settles it, and it's about time. On Aleo, your encrypted data is stored on-chain, replicated, permanent, and its secrecy depends on that encryption holding up, forever. On Midnight, the private state never goes on-chain at all. And on Canton, a party who wasn't entitled to your transaction never received the bytes in the first place. There's nothing to break because there's nothing there. To you and me, those three might feel the same. For an institution putting a 30-year mortgage book on a ledger, they are not remotely the same risk, no matter how good today's cryptography is. Grouping these 8 chains together wasn't a mistake. It was the right instinct applied to a word that's quietly doing 4 different jobs. The math's hiding it, the crowd hiding it, the origin hidden, or the data simply never sent to anyone who wasn't entitled to it. So the useful thing to actually do with this. Article 79 is about 90 seconds of reading. Go to your Lex, search the page for anonymity enhancing, and read it yourself rather than trusting a headline. And the rules deciding how that article really bites are being written right now in public. Europe's new anti-money laundering authority has 4 consultations open as I record this, and anyone can read the drafts and respond. Every endpoint I pulled today is in the description, so you can rerun all of it and check me. At TryNightElion 55, this one is yours. Thank you for asking a question that was better than you probably realized. And if you want the DigiByte deep dive, that one's already up. Subscribe if this is your kind of thing. Newsletter link is below, and I'll see you in the next one.